Hello and welcome to Superpower Broadcasting. I'm Kevin Castley. Thank you for being here tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking more about the John Bolton drama with Donald Trump. Today I actually bought John Bolton's book. I'm going to go and read through it. I also got a copy of The Neoconservative Persuasion by Irving Kristol, and I'm going to do at some point later on with this channel, of course, a review on John Bolton's book, as well as the essays in The Neoconservative Persuasion, which is the collection of essays by Irving Kristol. They'll take probably about a week to arrive to my place, but it'll be interesting. As far as the John Bolton drama goes right now, Donald Trump has called John Bolton a creepo, and Secretary Pompeo has called Bolton a traitor. Of course, Bolton has regarded Pompeo as a sycophant, and that's very clear. Pompeo is a classic apparatchik. It seemed initially like he had some backbone, that he was more on John Bolton's side when it came to things like Donald Trump's desire to throw a peace party for the Taliban at Camp David right around 9/11. What a goof. But he has acquiesced. He has bowed down. He is clearly in the court of Donald Trump. And yeah, he's an apparatchik. He's a yes man at this point. I was watching interviews with John Bolton on mainstream media networks, as well as the one conducted by Stephen Colbert. And one thing that stood out to me was that in a few of them, he's being asked about, well, you're doing this book, you're going to make money from the book. So how can we trust you? Was it the right decision to release this? Should you have just, testified? That's one of the big ones, is the question around, should he have testified at the impeachment proceedings? And a lot of the interviewers have essentially accused him of grifting with this. I can see why people might initially come to the conclusion that it looks like a grifty move. However, John Bolton makes a very good point, and I believe John Bolton on this one. He says, if he wanted to make money, he would have stayed in the private sector his whole life. But instead, he went into the government because he believed in foreign policy, believed in the philosophy of course, his brand of essentially offensive realism, and he believed in national security. So I believe him on that. Of course, I believe him. Everybody makes money when they put books out. Bernie Sanders made, over $1 million from his book. I never see him get asked about that. But John Bolton gets asked all the time in the mainstream media about that, as, oh, are you just doing this for the money? It's like, okay, but let's just have a serious conversation here. Everybody who releases a book, every high-profile figure who releases a book is going to make money from the proceeds of that. I mean, that's obvious. If it were Bernie Sanders, if it were Obama, if it were AOC, they would all make money. And don't think that's not coming. That's definitely coming. At some point, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley, all the squad, they're going to release books too. They're going to make millions of dollars. It's easy to say it's a grift. It's easy to say, oh, you're just doing it for money or whatever. But the problem is, would you rather the book not come out? Like, what, is he supposed to not make money from the book? It's like, okay, people want to read it. He put time and energy into it. The U.S. government is trying to prevent its release. They're trying to get it, taken away off the shelves. Trump is alleging that it's leaking classified information, which is BS. Obviously, Bolton has a much better knowledge of what would be classified than Trump does. For Pompeo to go out there and call John Bolton a traitor as he's working for a guy who literally owes money, big money. He's big debt Don. He owes all this money to the Russians. A guy who said that he trusts the KGB over the CIA. and then his apparatchik here, Pompeo, comes out and says that John Bolton is the one who's treasonous. John Bolton's like the only guy in this entire administration that has any principles, essentially. I mean, there are other people. I mean, some of the generals and stuff, they have principles too, but I mean, let's keep it real. John Bolton is one of the only people that prevented this administration from being a complete crap show. I mean, it's been bad. It's been very bad. And John Bolton himself has said that wasn't really any decision that Trump has taken that he didn't see as purely being for his own reelection. However, it could have been a lot worse. Imagine if Bolton wasn't there. Imagine how quickly Trump would have surrendered to the Taliban. Imagine how weak he would have been on Iran. Imagine how much more weak he would have been on North Korea. Imagine how much more concessions he would have given to these other countries. Because, of course, John Bolton, he was a voice of reason. So I think that that's valuable. And now to see people in the mainstream media always bring up the point about the book. Oh, you're going to make, $2 million from the book or whatever. It's like, yeah, he's going to make money from the book. So did Bernie Sanders. AOC is going to make a killing too when she releases a book. All these political figures make a ton of money when they release books. But to see like that sort of accusation directed at Bolton time and time and time again, I would have preferred that he testify, but it is up to him. And let's keep it real. At the end of the day, John Bolton is one of the only people in mainstream in mainstream politics in America, in any sort of power position in America, that understands what's going on with North Korea. I mean, he's been on the record for a long time saying, this is what's going to happen. This is a massive problem. Everybody thinks they're a meme. Nobody takes them seriously. Somebody needs to do something. The country is a human rights disaster, and they're getting nuclear weapons, and they're going to use those weapons to blackmail the United States. That the whole talk of taking over the Korean Peninsula, that's not just for show. Obviously, he knows his history. He knows about the Korean War. He knows that they did sacrifice millions of people to try to take the peninsula the first time. And in the future, they will likewise do the same. However, now they'll have nukes to blackmail America and the West to lay off and let them take South Korea in a 1v1. He knows. I have followed the Team John Bolton account over on Facebook for a long time. They'll often post quotes from Bolton. This was when he was considering, maybe making a presidential run of some sort. He had, Bolton pack. And it's just, I mean, honestly, some of the posts from that page, they're like my meme page. It's like liberal hawk memes for moral universalist teens. That's what Bolton pack was like. It was hawkish as hell. A lot of these posts were basically saying, the only solution to the problem in North Korea is a military solution. But he's 100% correct about that. Anybody who understands what's going on with that country knows that Kim will never give up the nukes. You could give him all the money in the world and he won't give up the nukes because he's already a billionaire. And even if you made him 100 times richer to give them up, well, now all of a sudden he knows he could be dead tomorrow, so it's not worth it to him. Those nukes aren't going anywhere unless they get launched against the United States and our allies. John Bolton understands this. Everybody's ignored him. I understand that there's a lot of drama going on right now with Donald Trump. I get that when it comes to the whole situation where Trump's cronies are going out there and calling John Bolton a creepo, a wacko, a traitor. I get that the focus is going to be on that. But we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that this guy, John Bolton, he is 100% right on the money when it comes to North Korea. And nobody really talks about North Korea too much as all this drama and everything comes up. I, of course, on this channel all the time, I talk about North Korea. I think that North Korea is probably going to be the biggest problem of this century, or at least the first half of this century. I think there's a good case to be made that a third world war involving China and Russia and the United States and NATO will probably be the dominating sort of event of the second half of the 21st century. But I think North Korea taking over the Korean Peninsula, that's going to be the biggest event of the first half of the 20th or 21st century, rather. And I think that they will launch the invasion 30,000, however many troops that are stationed in South Korea, American troops. They will be thrown to the wolves and they will become prisoners of war and probably promptly executed, right? So that's what's going to happen. John Bolton understands. Now, he hasn't gone into too much detail about these sorts of scenarios. A lot of this is my speculation. But John Bolton is hawk pilled, and more importantly, he's nuke pilled. He understands what's going on. So, how's everybody doing tonight? Belly Stall says, imagine if Biden was president. Well, I think Biden has a very good chance at winning the election. I still think that, he's got the favorable odds going in against Trump. I think Trump is losing most all of the important power figures within the Republican Party. He still has his base, but a lot of the energy has dwindled. He, of course, hasn't delivered on the wall. That's been a crap show. He as well hasn't really improved economic conditions for the voters in the Rust Belt that he had initially championed. I think that Joe Biden can make a much better case to those voters that he will deliver more economic prosperity and also hold off the radical elements of the left. Donald Trump, if he wants to win this, he really needs to brand Joe Biden as essentially the candidate of the riots. He needs to brand him as the candidate of the Squad L. And he's trying, but it's not working too well. It'll work for his base, but where it really matters is with independents. And when independents see all these Republicans come out and talk about Donald Trump as this literal threat to the U.S. and the West, well, that's going to definitely change people's perception of Trump that are actually on the fence, and that will help Biden. John Bolton isn't going to be voting for Biden. He said that he'll be writing in a different conservative, so he's not going to be voting for Trump. But that's pretty important. So he's not going to be voting for Trump. Colin Powell's going to be voting for Biden. So, oh man. Yeah, there's a guy in the chat. He's calling John Bolton draft dodging. That's not even true. John Bolton was literally in the Coast Guard. You can look it up. Oh man. Yeah, but a lot of fake news out there. A lot of people don't like John Bolton at all because John Bolton doesn't care what they think of him, and he speaks the truth about important flashpoints in the world. It doesn't make people feel comfortable and happy that he tells the truth about what's going on with North Korea, because that would mean you need to do something about North Korea, and that would require effort. That would require money. That would require actually launching a war. And a huge swath of the electorate got their history from Michael Moore and Noam Chomsky and all of their essentially sycophants out there. So we got Olympian God here. Welcome, Olympian God. This is going to be much shorter of a stream. I'm probably going to wrap this up within the next 15 minutes. I got to be up very early for work. I'll have a longer stream tomorrow. But I did want to pop on here and talk about the Bolton drama as it continues. We got Dr. Zayas. How's it going, Dr. Zayas? Oh, we got Arthur in here. How's it going, Arthur? Yeah, big up Hawks. There we go. Yeah, big up Hawks. Big up everybody. Yeah, so a lot of people are not fans of John Bolton. They don't like John Bolton at all. Speaking of John Bolton, I do have a meme that Arthur made earlier. I'm going to show for everybody here. Go check out Arthur's channel. It's Atheist Gone Wild over on YouTube. He's got a couple hundred subscribers. He does a lot of parody videos of Kremlin Kyle and other goofy figures out there on YouTube. But he made this, and I like this meme right here. You got the laser eyes going on. Obviously, you got Big Don in the foreground, probably saying something stupid. But then he's like, oh, he's right behind me, isn't he? Yeah, because John Bolton's everywhere. I mean, think about it. John Bolton is North Korea's worst nightmare. Because they're not worried about Trump. They think that Trump is a joke. They're not worried about Obama. Obama didn't do anything for 8 years except call Kim a bad guy. But John Bolton, they're worried about John Bolton. They're worried that if John Bolton ever has the ear of the president, that might be the end of them. That they might not be able to plunder and rape and pillage their people anymore. So that they can get luxury, alcohol, and swag cars for their dear leader. The regime would be dead in the water if John Bolton were president. Can you imagine John Bolton if he were national security advisor to a president that actually wasn't a pigeon? Could you imagine John Bolton in a Nikki Haley administration or a Mitt Romney administration? Or even, I know it will never happen, but even a Joe Biden administration, could you imagine that? How cool that would be. Dr. Zayas asks, what was the Bolton drama? I missed it. Oh, there's so much, man. I've got a few streams in the last week talking about the John Bolton drama. You can go and watch those to catch up on them. Reese and I covered it for about 4 hours the other day. We went over a lot of the important details and everything and our thoughts on it. But basically, John Bolton, of course, as you probably know, he left the administration after 17 months because he had it. He had absolutely had it because Donald Trump wanted to throw a peace party for the Taliban at Camp David in New York State right around the anniversary of 9/11. And John Bolton was like, now this is speculation, but he must have said to him something like, Mr. President, with all due respect, that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. There's no way I'm tolerating that. That is pathetic. That is some pigeon shit. And I will have no part in it. So then Donald Trump threw a temper tantrum, and then John Bolton had to leave the administration. And ever since then, Donald Trump has called him, oh, he's got a creepy mustache. He's a creepo. He's a wacko. He's a traitor. He had Secretary Pompeo come out and call him a traitor. He's called him a warmonger. He's said in fact, Donald Trump has had the same kind of statements about John Bolton that one of Reese's haters said about Reese. One of Reese's haters said about Reese, Nightmare Fuel, he's hawkish, he loves bombing people. And then what does Donald Trump go and do on Twitter? He says he loves bombing and killing people. That's what he said about John Bolton. So, John Bolton gets the same treatment that Reese gets. It's pretty funny, actually. Donald Trump sounds like one of those guys who's 16 years old and just watched, Fahrenheit 9/11 by Michael Moore. And then watched, some George Carlin comedy. And, George Carlin could be funny, but he was also, had a lot of the Kyle Kulinski talking points when it came to foreign policy. And then goes on and literally watches Kyle. And then reads some Noam Chomsky, reads some Karl Marx. And then watches, Vosh or something. And he gets out there on Twitter. Oh, and don't forget Tucker Carlson. And then he gets out there on Twitter, and then he says, Oh yeah, John Bolton, he's a warmonger. He likes bombing people. It's like, idiot. John Bolton understands that there's not a choice between peace and war. He wants to minimize the suffering. He wants to increase the chances of victory. You, the president, you want to stick your head in the sand and pretend that the rest of the world doesn't exist. That you can just play nice, play patty cakes with dictators and terrorists, and it'll all work out well because we're bad, okay? Honestly, Donald Trump sounds like June, shoe on head. They have the exact same talking points. Like this girl right here. By the way, like I've said before, that thumbnail, that's a reference to me because I triggered her so much when I said, we're bad, when I captioned a Kraut meme that Kraut had made of her, looking stupid, like an actual brainlet. And I captioned it with, we're bad. And she said, only a neocon could think that that was an insult. And then she put this up, a little while later as the thumbnail for her video, where she was basically, I didn't even watch the video. I don't have time for that. But I watched like 20 seconds or whatever. It looked like it was just basically, oh, Trump killed Soleimani. This is going to start World War III. Because anytime the U.S. does anything, it's going to start World War III. So, like, what are we up to right now? Like World War 87, World War 89? I don't know. Dr. Zaya says, oh, I thought it was something new that happened today. Nothing too new. The only new stuff that I saw was like he went on Stephen Colbert, John Bolton did, and Stephen Colbert wasn't too much of a fan of him. I understand that a lot of people are upset that he didn't testify. But again, you have to keep it from the perspective of John Bolton. He can't really talk about it, but my guess is he must have thought that by not testifying, but still having the threat of being able to testify at any point, that he could somehow influence the administration to keep it from going full pigeon. That in some way the policy that Trump had towards Iran, in the later days and more recent times, could be made better if he hangs the threat of testifying over Trump. So I also believe Bolton when he says that he felt that the impeachment proceedings didn't really reach out to Republicans at all, that they didn't really make Republicans feel comfortable to really testify against Trump. Now, you might say, well, that's petty. That's not the sort of thing that you care about. Obviously, you put the interest of the country over how they made you feel or whatever. I get that, but you have to keep in mind some of these people are like woke skulls. They're like AOC types. They're the types of people that even if you're saying the same thing and you have a common opponent, which is Donald Trump here, they're going to woke scold you because, of course, John Bolton is a war hawk. They don't like that. They don't like that at all. And I believe him that he was made to feel unwelcome by the Democrats. And so he must have felt, I don't owe these people anything, and decided not to testify. And you could say, well, he should have ignored that. He should have put that aside. I get it. But this is also the only guy who's speaking the truth about North Korea. Like this guy is not just some nobody. He's not just like another Republican or whatever. This guy is one of the only people in the United States government that it has really thoroughly taken the hawk pill. So, and they don't like that. I mean, let's keep it real. Most of the Republican leaders and most of the Democratic leaders, they're like Michael Moore. They're like shoe on head. So no, I believe him. I believe him that they really made him feel uncomfortable and not welcome to testify. And he must have felt, well, I don't owe you anything then if you're going to be like that about it. So now I don't know. That's speculation. I haven't read the book yet. For those of you who weren't here at the beginning, I was saying how I did order a copy of the book today, and that'll be here probably within about a week. And, I needed to, spend a little bit more to get free shipping. So I bought a copy of Irving Kristol's The Neoconservative Persuasion as well. a compilation of essays by him. So I'll be going over both of those. I'll do reviews on both of those at some point. The ones by Irving Kristol, that's going to take a long time to get through for video reviews on each of the essays, but that'll be interesting. Like, I'm going to be doing a series later on all the neocon figures, like the big thinkers in the movement, because there isn't any sort of neocon community really on YouTube. There are figures here and there and stuff, but I want this channel to be the home of the hawks. So somebody's got to compile, a concise dosage of the hawk pill from various strains of hawk thought. So, like, I'll cover Christopher Hitchens too. I'll go through all of his foreign policy stuff eventually down the road as well. Jane Kirkpatrick, Bill Kristol, David Frum, all these people. So. Olympian God says, made the mistake of going to Reddit, and he's universally hated there. Lambasted by every other buzzword you can imagine. Yeah, the only subreddit I've seen that has been favorable in its treatment towards John Bolton is Neocon New World Order. That's the only subreddit, honestly, that I can tolerate at this point. I don't agree with everybody there. I don't really even post there. I just kind of see what people have to say and stuff. I don't really spend much time on Reddit at all. I found this meme on Reddit. I'm not sure who made it. One of the users of that subreddit made this. It's a great meme. It's a potent meme, very potent. And Billy Bong made a full video about the walrus that took down that Russian vessel. So that was shortly after John Bolton didn't want to stay in the administration anymore, and so he got out. And it's speculation, but was it really a walrus, or was it John Bolton who sunk that Russian ship? So took matters into his own hands. But yeah, no, Reddit is a joke. Reddit is all like neckbeard Bernie bros, or like the Nick Fuentes types, the paleo morons. There really aren't hawks on Reddit, apart from neocon NWO. You might think, well, what about the neoliberal group? No, the neoliberal group is basically establishment, anti-war, let's trade with dictators, but let's also be woke and stuff. And let's raise taxes on a bunch of different areas. Like, again, that's another thing. There's this perception of neoliberals, especially if you mention that to older people. They think you're talking about like laissez-faire, Milton Friedman style people. All the young neoliberals on Twitter, they basically sound like Bernie Sanders, but in terms of what they want to do policy-wise, except they have more language that would sound like a capitalist, that would sound like somebody that's center to center right. They still have a lot of the rhetoric, the market language of, capitalist economics, but they're social democrats at a minimum, by and large. So, and of course, they're against war. They think that there's a genuine choice between war and peace. It's amazing. It's like Neville Chamberlain. He thought, oh yeah, we can have peace with Hitler. How did that work out? 50 million people died. What a joke. So let's see what else is going on in the chat. Dr. Zaya says, Shu is pulling her hair out as we speak. Yeah, so there is more drama. I am going to wrap up the stream pretty shortly, but there is more drama. For those of you who don't know, Fat Greg and Brainlet Shun, they broke up. So, there is that. We've got Atheist Gone Wild. Arthur, he says, war bad. Or no, he says, war bad. Just like one word. Mike Jones says, this is a new guy. He says, how does it feel to watch your evil history and statues be erased before your eyes? Wait, which statues are we talking about? Like, are we talking about like Confederate monuments and stuff? Because yeah, if you fought for an opposing army, you shouldn't have your statues glorifying you. That's like putting up statues for like Bin Laden or something, or for Hirohito in Hawaii. It's like it makes no sense. Like they were the enemy. However, if you're talking about like the statues of like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Winston Churchill that got removed because they were allegedly racist or whatever, that's a joke. That needs to be dealt with. So I think it's a false equivalence to compare somebody like Winston Churchill to Confederate generals. Oh yeah, that's a good point though, because Arthur reminds us that Hillary's email started World War X. That's true. That's true. I guess you can watch June talking about that. I'm not even sure. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll move on. I'm not sure what that guy, Mike Jones, is up to, but Olympian God said, Shu is cringe. She's only famous because of Simps saying she's a based girl or whatever. Oh, yeah, no, she's not based. No, no part of her is based. Nothing. Like her her foreign policy takes are honestly, they're on the same tier as Kyle Kalinske. They're basically like what we're about to watch. This you can break it all down to this.
On your paper. 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 On your paper.
That, like, once you've seen that, you've seen all these people. Like, you don't even need to watch June or Kyle now. That's basically their entire thing. It's a joke. Imagine thinking she's based. Again, she literally did this as the thumbnail for one of her videos, as a throwback to when she got triggered by me. She came across my account and was like, liberal neocon, because that was my my handle at the time. And she was like all caps. And of course, to her, obviously we all get that like neocon would be an insult. She doesn't like neocons. But she also doesn't like liberals. There's this whole thing of like, okay, liberal, whatever you say liberal, it's basically okay boomer, but like the super communist version of okay boomer. They hate liberals because they think that like liberals are for like individualism and property rights and freedom from government overreach, that kind of stuff, which is totally true. They don't like that. They don't like that. So imagine using liberal as an insult, by the way. Yeah, Castly book review. Yeah, I'm not sure. Do you guys think I should do that stuff on this channel, or do you think that I should make a book review channel specifically for that kind of stuff? Kaka Kadava says Trump apparently thought Finland is a part of Russia. Yeah, that's one of the revelations that we got from John Bolton, for sure. That's unsurprising. I mean, it's goofy, but I believe it. Donald Trump didn't know the difference between the Quds Force or the Kurds. He didn't know. Dr. Zaya says, I'd love to know how many countries he could name. I'm guessing it's probably between 10 to 15. Oh, yeah. Like, let's keep it real. Here are the countries that he probably knows. He knows, like, if you asked him, what countries do you know in the world? Like, just start listing off countries, my man. How many can you do? And, like, let's say, like, he gets $1 million or whatever if he gets the right number of countries. We all know he's going to fail that, but, like, you know, he gives a genuine effort. Let's see what he says. He's like, oh, okay, Russia. He's not going to start with America. Who thinks he's going to start with America? He's not going to start with America. He's going to start with Russia. America's probably going to be like 3 or 4. He's going to probably say like Russia, China, North Korea. Oh, the United States. Yeah, we're a country. Like, America's not going to be the first country he lists. It's obviously not going to be the first country it lists. I mean, hell, there's a chance he might not even think that the U.S. is a country. I'm not even sure if he would include the United States in the list. He might just forget about the United States, but he'll list Russia, and then it'll probably be like Japan, the country that Duterte's from that I can't really pronounce, but I like him. He's a good guy. He's a cool guy. He'll list off probably list off Syria. He'll probably list off Iran. We'll be like, oh yeah, Iran, because Obama liked Iran, so I don't like Iran. He'll list off Saudi Arabia. He'll list off like Turkey. He'll definitely know the United Kingdom. He'll probably get France. He'll probably get Germany. He'll almost certainly get Canada. There's no way he doesn't get Canada. He'll definitely get Mexico. You know, Mexico, they're not sending their best. He'll get where else would he get? He'll probably say Russia again, like 2 or 3 times. He'll say Russia because, of course, he owes them the money. He loves Russia. He'll probably mention. He'll probably mention Ukraine. But if you really grilled him on it, he'd define Ukraine as like a much smaller part of what Ukraine actually is. Because we all know he thinks Crimea is part of Russia. He thinks that the Donetsk People's Republics are part of Russia, etc. All that stuff he's with Putin on. He obviously wouldn't get Finland because, of course, that's part of Russia, he thinks. Where else? Are there any other countries he might be able to list off? Probably not. Like maybe Cuba. Oh, probably Venezuela. He probably knows Venezuela. Like he'll get Venezuela. He might get Vietnam. And he might get India and Pakistan. I think that's about it. You know, if we're being favorable to Trump, 30 countries, 25 to 30 countries. That's it out of like 200 around. You know, is he going to get Eritrea? No. He's never heard of Eritrea. Is he going to get Ethiopia? No. He may have heard of Ethiopia once, but he's not going to guess Ethiopia as like a country. Is he going to remember Greece? Probably not. Is he going to get Liechtenstein? No, he's never heard of that. Is he going to get Czech Republic? No, he's never heard of that. Is he going to guess like Uruguay? No. Has he ever heard of Mongolia? Probably, but he's not going to remember that that's a country. Yeah, he probably lists off like 25, 30 countries. Or he might just completely crap the bed and like stumble and then not be able to answer past like 9 or 10. Or he might just eventually just say, you know, oh, all of them, all the countries. It's like, yeah, but we want you to list them off. And he's like, oh, well, all of the countries. Like he did with like the Bible. They're like, what's your favorite verse? He's like, all of them. What a goofball. So like the slavery stuff, the Jesus stuff, all that stuff. He loves it all. He loves it all. The part about like taking child sex slaves, he loves it all. It's all equally good. Olympian God says, heard Robert Kagan's book, Dangerous Nation, is quite good. Oh, yeah, no, I got to go through like Robert Kagan's, all of his works too. Kagan's based. Like I've seen Kagan talk quite a bit. He's a very smart dude. He knows what's up. He's taken the hawk pill. Dr. Zaya says, if Bernie bros are becoming lukewarm neolibs, that is a big improvement. I would agree. The problem is it's the other way around. Neoliberals have gone way in the direction of Bernie over the last 5 years. The Bernie bros have gotten even more radical. I wish it was the other way around, man. Yeah, Dr. Zayas asks, Winston Churchill owned slaves because they're saying that all those statues were from slave owners. Yeah, Winston Churchill owned slaves, man. Yeah, and then of course Arthur asks, "How pay for it?" I like he's got Kyle right there in the profile picture. That's so funny. Crackhead Kulinski, Kremlin Kyle. Yeah, Dr. Zayas says it's pathetic that there's even a dispute as to whether or not George Washington is good. And I'm sure Black Lives Matter would agree with that. I'm sure a lot of communist Reddit forums and BreadTube would agree with what you just said. They would all say, of course, he was obviously evil. He was a no good USA imperialist. Yeah, Arthur says, post on this channel if it's hawkish books. Oh, yeah, they're all going to be like hawkish books for sure. And Dr. Zayas concurs with that. Arthur says, we're bad in cursive. Oh, yeah. It's great. Dr. Zayas says he would definitely either say UK or England, but I don't think he can name the countries that comprise the UK. Oh no, he would be, if you asked him that, like name the 4 countries in the UK, he'd be like, what do you mean? The UK is a country. Like he doesn't get it. Like I'm sure he's heard of Scotland before. He has a golf course there. He's been there. Obviously, like he knows that Scotland is a thing. I'm sure he just thinks it's like it's UK. Just because it's kind of like, Pennsylvania or whatever. Or like, has he heard of Northern Ireland before? Probably not. Probably not. Yeah, oh yeah, it's like that meme. It's like England is my city from Jake Paul's song. It's every day, bro. It's just like England is my city. That's the level of intellect we're dealing with. So yeah, he thinks the whole world is a part of Russia. He might also think Venezuela is a part of Mexico. Oh man. Yeah, no, he'll definitely guess Mexico. Like he knows Mexico. He started his whole campaign. He came down the escalator and he's like, "Let me tell you about Mexico." Arthur says, "Name the countries of the UK." Trump responds, "All of them." Yeah, that's it. That he would totally do that. That would be his move. He'd just be like, Russia and all of them. You ask him to name off the planets in the solar system. He'd be like, okay, Russia, Mercury, Venus. Actually, I'm not even sure he knows about Mercury as a planet. He's not a bright guy. He's really not a bright guy. Billy Stahl says Africa is Joe Biden's favorite country. Oh, man. Oh, man. Well, yeah, we're definitely going to wrap things up right now. Thanks for being here tonight. I will be streaming again tomorrow night. And definitely be sure to like this video. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so yet. You can follow me over on Twitch. The link is in the description. And if you'd like to financially contribute to my channel here, you can go to patreon.com/superpowerbroadcasting and, help your favorite hawk out. So with that, have a good day, everybody. Peace.